Hey there and welcome back to Typescript channel. Today we are going to build an application which can convert a wireframe to a React code. This complete full stack application we are going to build it from the scratch, and in this application you will learn a lot of different tech stack which can help us to build your resume and get a job. Let's walk through the application first and let's see what we are going to build in this particular video. If you see, we have this beautiful landing screen, and also you have option to log in to the application with the help of Google. So with the help of Firebase authentication, we added this Google and Gmail authentication to our application. Simply log into your account, and once you log in, click get started, and then you will jump on this dashboard where we have this beautiful side navigation bar, and with the help of Tailwind CSS and the Shadcn UI component, we added this side navigation bar and many other components. Now over here you have option to upload an image. So let's select an image. Here you can select any wireframe image which you want to use it. So I will select this one. Now this is the product detail screen of any e-commerce website. You also have option to select a different AI model, and I'm going to tell you how can we integrate this AI model very easily. So I will select the Google Gemini, and here you can write a description about this particular wireframe. So we are telling, okay, this is product detail screen of e-commerce website. Okay, it's a optional kind of thing. It's up to you whether you want to add it or not. If you want to get more specific result and exact result, then it's good to add the description. And then on the click of this convert to code, we're gonna save this information to our Firebase, and then it will redirect it to the new screen where if you see it generating the code for you. Wow, how cool, right? Now it's automatically generating the code line by line, and inside this editor we are getting the result immediately. Now once the code finish, right, you will see the preview as well. How cool, right? And whatever the wireframe you will see, the exact and similar code you will find it, and this particular all the information is generated with the help of AI. And I'm going to tell you how easily we can integrate. Not only that, but we added this beautiful editor so that you can even see the code, you can even see the preview of your web page which is generated with the help of AI. And it's come kind of functional. Obviously we are just uploaded one image, so that's the reason it's only generated the single page application. Also with the help of drizzle orm, we save all the information to the database. With the help of Firebase, we store all our wireframe images so that anytime if user come back to our application from the design, he can access his code anytime. And if you see, I tried a bunch of different, and everything is generated so purely. So if you see in this example, it's very straightforward. If you see my previous example, let me open one of them. Now in this login screen, if you see, in the description I also provided, okay, you can use this image for a background, and similar kind of result generated immediately. So no more writing the code from the scratch, and we can use this wireframe to code to build our web page. How cool. So this complete application we are going to build it from the scratch. If you are new to this Next.js, if you are new to the any AI model, so don't worry, because I'm going to teach you everything from the basic, starting from creating the application to finish this application. So also if you want to access any projects, exclusive courses, source code, you can always go to the tubegurji.com where you will find a bunch of different courses, the source code, even you can track each course chapter by chapter, and everything you will find on the tubegurji.com. So guys, without doing any further delay, let's begin to develop this wireframe to code application. Now we are going to create a React application with the help of Next.js. And to build any SaaS application, we need to consider a lot of different things. The first, obviously, to create a React application, you can use NextJs to build that. Then you need to set up a Tailwind CSS, some UI library like ShadCN. Then you need to add authentication like Google, Facebook, Microsoft, the database setup, the landing screen or the dashboard with a sidebar, and all of this information or all of this feature you need to integrate one by one, and it's taking a lot of time to integrate it. So I came with a new solution for that one called Next.js boilerplate, where you will get all of this feature in a one application. You don't need to create or add it completely from the scratch. With the help of fast Next.js, you can just clone the GitHub repo, and then all of this integration or feature already there. Simply go to the fastnextjs.vercel.app. On this one, click on get it now. You will redirect it to the GitHub repo, and once you on this particular page, click on code and then copy this HTTP request code. Okay, so once you copy this URL, open a folder where you want to create this project and open a terminal at that folder. Now inside here, make sure you have the git install. Okay, then you need to type git clone and then paste this URL which you just copy. What it will do, it will copy a complete project from this GitHub repo, okay, which is required to get started for our application. So let me go back to our terminal and then click enter. Now it's cloning this complete project, and once it is done, we'll close this one and then go back to the folder where you just created. So over here, let me increase this size, and inside here you will see the new project. Okay, you can rename this one. We'll say wireframe to code and then click enter. After that, go to the VS Code, open that particular project, and then say yes, I trust the author, and here you will find some of the files and folder already there, which is similar to what we have inside the once we created the Next.js application. But along with that one, it provides an extra feature like authentication, database connection, and lot of other things. Now let me walk through the each folders and file which comes with this Next.js boilerplate application. So first and very important, which is the app folder, which contain all your pages, route, API components. After this, inside this app, we have this underscore component which contain all the common components which is used throughout the application. So for example, the application header, the sidebar which you saw in on a dashboard screen. Then we have this authentication for the sign in with a Gmail account, right, with the help of clicking the button, and this profile avatar which you saw on this header section. Okay, so obviously simply you need to import this component and everything is already there. After this, we have this routes folder. Inside this route which contain a dashboard route, and for the dashboard we already have the dedicated a dashboard layout as well, and along with the provider, okay, which help us to make sure unauthorized user cannot access to our dashboard section, and this logic is already written over here. It also check if the user is new or a existing one, and depends on that one it will save the record to our database. After this, we have this API folder which contain this user API endpoint in order to verify the user is new or existing. And then we have the global.css file which contain the global styling applied throughout the application. The root layout file which contain, you can apply the font, you can add the SEO for your application or some HTML body tag as well. Then the page.tsx, which is the landing screen and the default page of our application. Now once you open this localhost 3000, you will see this landing page, and depends on your requirement you can make some changes, and this is the provider for the root layout. our application, the complete application is wrapped inside this auth context so that you can access the user information anytime, and you will learn it obviously once we process throughout this particular video and course. After this, inside this component folder which contain all the ShadCN component, whenever you install any ShadCN component, which will be inside this component/UI folder. Then inside this config folder we have db.tsx which contain the drizzle database configuration. So just by accessing this db, you can make some changes to your database record, like making insert operation, fetching the record, all of these things. Then in Firebase configuration, which contain the Firebase related configuration, the schema.ts file contain the all the tables into your database, and you can write the drizzle schema inside this schema.ts file. After this, we have context, which is the auth context, okay, which save the user information. Then we have this lib folder which is related to ShadCN again. Inside the public folder we have files and all the images which we require to access from locally. Then in .env, obviously we already use this one to add all important API keys inside this .env file. After that we have this drizzle.config.ts file. So already drizzle is already configured, okay, and this is the configuration for that one. Then in next.config.ts file, which contain any configuration related to the Next.js, we can add it inside this next.config.ts file. And the package.json, which help us to run your application. You will see all the dependency which is installed along with their version and some dev dependencies as well. And the most important, the tailwind.config.ts file, which contain all the configuration related to your Tailwind. Here you will find the ShadCN related CSS color variable where you can update and make some changes. Now, after opening this project in a VS Code, open a terminal and simply run command npm install, which will install all the necessary dependency which is inside this package.json file. If you see, we have some dependencies and some dev dependency as well. Now, after that, the next step is go to this .env.example file and you need to copy all of these API keys. You need to get this API key from the Firebase for all of this, and then the database connection string as well. So simply copy all of this environment variable, create a new file called .env, and then paste your code and then save it. Now I will go to the Firebase, and if you don't have an account with the Firebase, just create a new one. Then go to the console. Here you have option to create a new project. I already have the project, so I will use existing one. Now here you can add a new application as well. So we'll click web application and give the application name. Here we'll say wireframe to code web, and we'll say register app. Once it registers, you don't need to execute this because Firebase is already installed inside your application. You even don't need to copy any of this. Just you need to get this API key, all of this API key, and just paste it here. For the API key, make sure to paste it here. Then next is the authentication domain. So copy this complete string and add to your .env file. And I added the remaining one and then save it. After that, the last thing where we need to add is the neon database connection string. Now obviously this particular Next.js boilerplate also include the database connection, okay, and right now I will go to the console for Firebase, but simply go to the neon.tech, which they provide a free neon database for you, okay. If you don't have an account, create a new account, and after that on the dashboard screen you will see the dashboard like this. Here you have an option called connect. Just click on that one. Then under this database drop down you have option to create a new database. I already have a lot of database created with the neon PostgreSQL database, but we are going to create a new one. So here we'll say wireframe to code. and then we'll say create. Now here you will see the connection string. Just copy this connection string and simply go back to our .env file and paste this connection string, and that's all. Make sure to save everything, and I will close this now because we don't need anymore. Now in order to connect our application with the Neon PostgreSQL database, we are going to use a drizzle, and all the drizzle setting and features already integrated inside our Next.js boilerplate application, so you don't need to worry anything. But whenever we want to create any new table or anything, then we need to write the schema for that one, that we are going to learn in this particular course as well. Now once your application setting is ready, just simply run command npm run dev, which will open the port localhost 3000. Okay, and now your application is running on this particular port. You simply open this on the browser, and boom, if you see, you will see this beautiful landing screen, right? Obviously you can simply go to the app folder, and inside the app folder you have this page.tsx file, as we are using TypeScript for this particular project, and here you will find all of the code for the landing screen. Anytime you can update this one. Okay, right now at the end of this particular course I'm going to update. For now I will keep as it is. Now at the top of the landing screen we have this header. Now if I click on this get started, you will see the authentication, which is also included, right? You just simply need to authenticate to your application, and obviously this is all already connected to a Firebase, so that's easy for us as well, right? And here after refresh you will also see your profile picture as well. Cool, right? Next thing, we'll run the database. Okay, and now in order to run the database, simply run a command called npx drizzle -kit studio. Okay, now it will open the local drizzle studio for you, and where you can see the database and tables. Now if you see, you don't have any table currently, right? But let me stop this particular studio for now, and simply run command called npm drizzle kit push. Okay, so over here inside this config folder we already have this database connection where you can use to make an all operation, and inside the schema we already have a column or a schema called user table. Okay, which we need to push to our new database. So simply run this command called npx drizzle kit push and click enter. And right now if you see, it's saying changes applied. Now you can run this studio and simply refresh this, and here you will see the user table. Currently we don't have any user, right? But if I refresh this application now, you will see a new. Okay, so maybe once we log in, let's log out and let's log in it again, and then you will see the new user will get added to our database. So basically if I go to the dashboard, and inside the dashboard you will see this sidebar as well. Okay, and now if I go to the studio, here you will see the new user will get added to your database as soon as you jump to the dashboard screen. On the left hand side we have this beautiful sidebar, and if you see, we can even collab this sidebar as well with this sidebar trigger. At the top we have this beautiful header, and here you can easily start implementing your remaining application. How cool. So this boilerplate is quite helpful, and all of these feature mentioned inside this fast Next.js boilerplate all are included for free, so you can directly use it and your application are ready to go. Now let's update this sidebar. Okay, so we're gonna update this some option. So simply go back to your app folder, and inside that we have this underscore components where we have this app sidebar. Now this is the code where our all this menu option is rendering, and at the top we have the list of item. Now first I will update this title to, let's say, workspace. Then here we'll say design, and here we'll say credits. If you want to add any more option, you can just add it here. I will just remove this option. And this particular all the icon is provided with the help of Lucid React. Okay, so anytime you can update this. So if I go to this lucid.dev, here you can search a different icon. Okay, so for example, for a design, if I search something like this, you will find bunch of option, and you can directly use this, something like this, say paint brush. Okay, and this icon now importing from the Lucid React. For the credits, let's use something like $sign. So I will use circle $sign. So you need to write circle $sign, and then save it. Now if I go back to our application, here you will see this beautiful option. Now obviously we only have these three options, but if you want to add more, you can just add it over here. The next thing depends on which page you are on, right? And that particular option, we need to show it as an active one. So for that one, you need to update a little bit. Here I'm going to remove this commented line of code. And in order to get to know on which screen or which route you are on, you can just write constant path is equal to use path name. Okay, now if I console this, let's console this inside the inspect panel. So let's go back, click left, and you will see this inspect option. Go to the console, and here you will find the path. So currently you are on the route called dashboard, so that's the reason it's showing /dashboard. Okay, and make sure to add this URL. So for the workspace, I will just say dashboard. For the design, I will add /design, and this is a new route called credits. Now depends on the path and URL. If they both are matched, then we need to mark that particular item or option as an active one. So simply we want to add a styling here. Okay, so here this will be a dynamic styling, depends on the condition, so we can call it as a conditional styling. So first add the $sign in curly braces. You need to add path is equal to item dot URL, because we are already mapping and rendering this list of items, right? And here we'll say and then we'll say background gray, let's say 200, and save it. So if you see, right now we are on dashboard and it's showing the workspace as an active one, right? If I refresh it, see, if I try to click on the design, it will show the 404 error because we don't have this page yet. Okay, but once we add this page, then it will show this particular option as an active one. Now on this dashboard screen, we are going to add an option to upload the wireframe image, and also user can enter about what kind of output or what kind of web page he is looking, so he can enter the input as well. And then on the click of this convert to web page, we're gonna convert this wireframe to a proper web page with the help of React and Tailwind CSS code. And this is the mockup. This is how it will look like. Obviously this is just a wireframe, okay, but obviously we are going to write the code for that one. So let's go back to the app folder, and inside that we have this routes, and under that we have this dashboard and then page.tsx file. First we'll add an h2 tag, and here we'll say convert wireframe to code. Here I'm gonna add a class name with a font bold, text is of 3XL, and then save it. Now if I go back to our application, this is how it will look like. Also inside the div we'll add a padding X, or just we can give on medium screen we'll give padding X to 20, on large we'll give padding X to 40, and on Excel will give padding X to 60. Okay, so depends on the screen size. We are going to add some padding. Let's make this little smaller. For medium I will remove it. Perfect. Now next we'll create a component. So inside this dashboard component folder we'll create a new uh, folder called components. Now all the components related to the dashboard page will keep inside this component folder, and make sure to start with the name underscore, so Next.js will not consider this as a route. And simply inside this we'll add a image upload.tsx file. Okay, now inside that we'll add a default template and then save it. Now simply we'll add this component over here. Now you will see the text called image upload, because that's what it is written inside this particular component. Now let's add a class name. We'll give padding top to 10, and first thing we need to convert this into a two different columns, right? One for this one and other for this input. So here I will add a div. For this div we'll add a class name grid, and then grid column 1 when the screen size is smaller, but when the screen size is medium or larger we'll give grid column 2. Also we're gonna give gap to 10. Now inside that obviously we need two columns, so I will add two div. Now one for the image upload and other for user input text area, you can say. And this is how you will see the two section. Now for the image upload, for this div we'll add a class name, we'll add padding to let's say 7. Also we add border, and I want this border in the form of dash, so I added the border style as a -1. Also we'll make rounded MD, and then we'll add a shadow and save it. Inside this, the first thing I'm gonna add the icon to upload the image. So let me find some better icon from the Lucid. Here we'll say upload. So I will just use cloud upload icon. For this we'll add a class name, and we'll give height to 10, width to 10. And if I go back, this is how it will look like. Let make sure all the item in the center of the screen. So here I will make it flex and then flex column. Also make item to be in the center and justify content in the center of the screen. So if you see, now this particular icon is the center of the screen. After this I'm going to add a text called upload image. For this one we'll add a font bold and text larger. I can show you like this. This will be a little easy for you. Next, as currently this is in the small screen size, that's why the both the column come one after other, right? Because by default, for a smaller screen we have this grid column 1. After this, the next we'll add a p tag, and inside that we'll say select image, or we'll say select wireframe image. We'll say click button to select wireframe image. Okay, now for this we'll add a class name, and I want to give gray color, okay, little lighter, and we also give margin top to 3. And then the last we want to add a button, so I will add this button inside the div tag with a button component. Okay, now this button component is already installed with the help of shadcn. Okay, and inside here we'll simply say select image. Now for this div we'll add a class name, then we'll add a padding to let's say 5, and then we'll add a border with a dash, and we'll also give width to full. Okay, also make flex and item to be in the center, and let's make justify center, and I will remove this item center. I don't think so we need that one, and then give margin top to 7. Perfect. And this is how our select image section will look like. On the bigger screen, this is how it looks, and on the smaller screen it will come one after other. So currently this button is not doing anything, right? But as soon as you select the or click on this button, it should open the file explorer to have an option to select the image, right? So obviously we need to add a custom file selector, right? So in order to add that one, first simply let's add an input of type file, okay, and close it. As soon as you add that one, you will see you have an option now to choose a file, right? And once you click on this one, it will select the file explorer where you can choose or any image. But we want to add a custom file select option, right? So simply let me put this over here, and for this input type I'm gonna provide the ID and we'll call it as a file select, or we'll say image select. Now just simply wrap, or let me remove this button, and here I'm gonna wrap this inside the label, and inside this I'm gonna add h2 tag, and here we'll say select image. And for this label I'm going to add one field called HTML form, and you need to provide the reference of this one, right? So whenever a user click on this label h2 tag, right, it will connect to this input tag because this is the ID, right? And we are just telling that for this HTML we assign this particular label and all, okay? And over here we'll add some padding to, let's say, 2, background to primary, and text to white. And obviously we are adding a style so that it will look like a button. Then we'll make a rounded medium, and we'll add padding x to 3. Okay, make it 5. Perfect. Now obviously we need to hide this choose file, right now if I click on this select image, still it open this, right? But obviously we want to hide this input, so for this class name here you can say hidden. And if I click on this select image, still I'm able to open the file explorer. So that's how you need to add the custom file selector. Now next, on the file select, we want to show the preview of the selected file. So for this input, here you can add on change event. Now this on change event, on the click of this on change event, we are going to call a method. So here we'll say constant on image select, and this on image select will have a event, right? The event is type of change event, okay? And here we'll say HTML input element, something like this, okay? So because we are using TypeScript, we need to provide the type for that one. Now over here we'll say constant files is equal to event dot target dot files, now which contain a list of file, okay? But you can just console it. So here I'm gonna add a condition files. If files are there, then I will console the selected files using files of 0 because we are selecting only one file. And then we'll simply call the on image select method over here. Also provide one more property to this input called multiple and make it as a false, so that user will not select a multiple image and only select one image at a time. Let's save it and let's test this out. So as we are getting error, it's saying the function on image select will not work on the server side. You need to mark this component on the client side. So simply at the top of this file, you need to mark it as a use client, and that's all. Now if I go to the inspect panel, and go to the console. Here I will click on select image, and here you can upload any image, let's say this image, right? Now obviously it's not showing on the screen, but inside the console panel you will see the selected file information. Cool, right? Perfect. Now the next thing, whatever the file you selected, you need to show it on the screen. So for that one, you need to convert this file first into the object URL, and it's quite easy. First I will define the state called preview URL comma set preview URL is equal to use state. Now this is of type string, so I will just mark it as a string, and the value can be a null, so both the value and by default it's null. Now whatever the object URL we create, we'll just simply gonna save inside this preview URL. Now in order to create this URL, right, simply here we'll say image URL is equal to URL dot create object URL, and inside that you need to pass the file for which you want to create this URL. Once the URL is ready, you can set the preview URL with the image URL, and that's all. Now let's save it, and whenever you select any image, we want to hide this data, but we want to show the image preview. So for this particular view, or maybe we can simply wrap this div, and here we'll add a condition if the preview URL is not there. It means obviously user did not select any image, then you have to show this particular UI component. Otherwise, here I'm going to add a condition, and otherwise I'm going to show a div, and inside the div we can show an image with a source tag, and inside that you can simply add the preview URL. Here we'll add an alt tag with a preview and a width, let's say 500, height to 500. Now I will add a class name, and inside that I'm gonna simply say width to full, height to 300 pixel, and then object content. Let's save this and let's test this out. So I will select the image, let's select this particular image and open, and boom, if you see, now you are able to see the preview as well. Perfect. Now for this div, we'll add a class name, we'll give a padding to 5, and also we'll add a border. Make sure to add a border dash. Okay. After this, inside this div, I'm going to add the X icon. Okay, so this X icon is kind of closed icon, so this is how it will look like, and I want this on the right hand side, so I will add a class name, we'll make a flex, and we'll make item to end, or maybe justify end. Or we need to give it full, or you can also simply add just below to this image, something like this, right? Now once user click on this one, we just again need to set the set preview to null. So here we'll say on click, and we'll set the preview URL to null. Okay, and save it. Now whenever you hover on this particular cross button, make sure to change the cursor pointer. So we'll add cursor pointer, and if I hover, you will see, if I click on this one, boom, it gone, and again you are getting option to select the image. Now in this case, let's select some different image. So I will select, let's say, this particular image, and see, this is how it will look like. And again, if you want to delete, you can just delete that one. Okay, so that's how you need to add this particular upload image section. The next is input area, so let's implement that. So I will just close this div, and here we have this user input area section. Now to this one, we'll simply add a class name, we'll add padding to 7. Now with the h2 tag, here we'll say enter description about your web page. Then we want to add a text area where user can enter the detail. Now the text area is not there inside our application. So from the chat CN, go to the components and simply add a text area component. So I will copy this npm command, go to the terminal, and inside the new terminal just paste it here so that you can able to add the. So we have one, okay, saying yes, and then it will install the text area for us. Okay, after that we can simply add a text area component and close it, and if you see we have this text area. Now for this div we'd add a border and we'll add a shadow medium as well. We'll make rounded large. Perfect. Now for this h2 tag we'll add a class name. We'll make font bold and text larger. For this text area we'll add a class name, margin top to let's say 3. Then we'll add a placeholder. Here we'll say write about your web page. And also I'm going to provide the height. So inside the class name, let's say height 200 pixel, and this is how it will look like. Now on the bigger screen, this is how it looks. Obviously once you select the image, it will automatically expand according to the size of this image. And here you have option now to enter some description about your wireframe. Now last thing, obviously we need a button so that on the click of that button you can convert your wireframe to code. So outside of this div we'll add another div. Inside this we'll say button, and this button will say convert to code and save it. Okay, now for this div let's add a class name, margin top to let's say 10. Then we want flex item to be in the center or justify to center. With this I'm going to add an icon inside this button. So we'll add this one icon, and after adding it, this is how it will look like. Okay, now obviously on the click we're gonna convert it. So this is how you can add this simple and clean UI. Now depends on the screen size, and this is completely responsive. If I decrease the size, you will see how beautifully the sidebar is gone. Now you have this two section, one after other, and once I expand, this is how it looks. Now one more last important thing we want to do is to update the primary color of our application. Currently it's kind of neutral or black color, and if you see for all the buttons we have this color. Now in order to update, simply go to the tailwind.config.js file. Inside here we have this different color like primary, secondary, and so on. So for the primary I'm going to update this to some different color. So here I will say I'm gonna add a hex code. We'll say hash 4f46e4 and save it. Now once you save, you will see everywhere it just updated with this particular color. Also if you want to update this icon color, that also you can do it. So inside this image upload, for this cloud we'll say text primary and boom. Okay, so that's how you can do it. Quick thing for this image, right? I'm going to add some different color combination, and for the text I'm going to add a primary and no text white. So I will remove this. I think this is much better. If you want to make font medium that you can do it. Perfect. Also, on this above the description, I'm going to add and drop down field where user have option to select the AI model. So for example, we can add a Gemini, DeepSync, or Llama. So user have option to select that. Also, you will see a small change. I added the font for our application. Okay, so from the layout file, so if I go to this layout.tsx, I just imported this outfit from the Google. Then I initialize this outfit font, and then inside the body I just applied it. Okay, so it's very straightforward. Now simply go to our image upload component where we added this description div, and just above this text area we can add that drop down. So now in order to add that drop down, simply go to the shared cn, and inside the shared cn component we have this select component. So just go to the select component. Here you can select this drop down and select the value, right? So that's how it works. Simply copy this npm command and go back to your VS Code. I will paste it here so it will install the select component for us, and then simply copy this import statement for this component. Let's paste it here, and then I will copy this use case, and I'm going to add just above here. Obviously I'm going to add an h2 tag here. We'll say select AI model, and then we'll paste this. Now for obviously the same class I'm going to add for this one as well, and then save it. Now if I go back to our application, let's see how it looks. So this is how it will look like. You can extend this width of this selector. So I will just make sure to provide it as a full. Okay, something like this. For this h2 tag, let's give margin top to 7, so some space. Now the next thing, we need to add the value inside that. So over here, you can define a constant or inside the data folder, because we already I believe we have the data folder. I don't think so we have any. That's fine, we can directly add a constant AI model list, and inside that I'm going to add a name of the model, which is, let's say, Gemini Google. Okay, and then we want to add an icon for that one. Now inside the assets folder, or inside the public folder, I already added this icon for it. Okay, so that I'm going to use. So we'll say slash google.png. Then we have the name, Llama model by Meta. Then we say icon slash meta.png. I think yeah, that's correct. And the last one, which is DeepSync. And I'm going to tell you how you can add all of this model as well. Okay, obviously these are some of the model that we are going to add, but you can add more as well, and then save it. Now this AI model list, we just need to iterate inside this select content. So here we'll say AI model list dot map. Here we'll say model comma index and the arrow function. Now we'll remove this select item, just we need one in order to display the name of the model. Here inside the value you can just provide a model dot name for now, and along with this name let's try to add an image as well. So here we'll add a div tag first. Inside the div I will add image tag source. Inside this we'll simply say model dot icon. Okay, alt tag I'm going to add a model dot name, and we'll give width to, let's say, 10, height to 10, and then inside the h2 tag I am going to display the name of the model. Okay, and then save it. let's make sure to provide the key as the index. Now over here, if you see, it's the icon is very small. Obviously we'll increase this, but now we have the image and the icon. So here I will make this to 25 and here 25. Okay, also make sure to bring everything in one line. So here we'll add flex item to be in the center, and let's give gap of 2. See, perfect, right? Next, if you see this placeholder is not correct, so over here inside the placeholder we'll say select AI model and then save it. Perfect, right? And whenever you select any of them, it will display over here. Perfect. So that is the thing that we need to add it. Now once user upload the wireframe, select the AI model, and after entering the description, when user click on the convert to code button, we are going to follow and implement some of the functionality. The very first thing that we need to do is to save the user selected image to our database, and for that one we are going to use a Firebase free storage. And once we store the data, obviously we'll get the image URL, okay, from the Firebase storage. Then we need to save this image URL along with the AI model which user selected and the user input to our Neon PostgreSQL database. Okay, and then it will generate the unique record ID for us. Obviously we are going to add that unique record ID, and after getting this unique record ID, we are going to redirect it to the new screen so that we can generate a code using selected AI model. And obviously to that AI model we are going to pass an image URL and the our own custom prompt in order to generate the code. And once we get the response from the AI model, then we are going to display the code and the output or preview inside the editor. Okay, so this is the complete workflow of our wireframe to code application. If you have any question to this workflow, let me know in the comment section. But first thing first, that we need to save image to the database. So simply first thing you need to do, go to the Firebase, and as you know that you already configured the Firebase, right? So you don't need to do much over here. Simply make sure to go to the storage. If you don't see this option storage over here, just expand this option and then you will find that option. Then if you are using very first time, make sure to click on this get started button, and here I already created a new folder. Okay, if you don't have, don't worry, you can create a one, or when you add a new image it will automatically create this folder as well. Then inside the rule, make sure you are able to access it. So right now I'm going to put this a future date, okay, because we are in the testing mode, so I'm just putting this timestamp. And obviously in the usage you will see how much data you use. Okay, now many people ask me whether it's a paid or free. So guys, it's a completely free up to 5 GB, but for that one you need to add the your payment information in order to access the storage. Okay, now if I go to the Firebase pricing, and here if I go to this pricing page, you will see for the storage you have free tier. Okay, means you can upload up to 5 GB, and after that it's just 0.026 per GB. Okay, it's very cheap, but still you will get a 5 GB for free. But obviously you need to add the pricing information. Okay, it depends on the country. Yeah, so now let's go back to our application, and the first thing that we need to do is when user click on convert to code button, we need to upload it. So here I'm going to write a method called constant on convert to code button click, and inside that first we'll save image to Firebase. Now you don't need to write this line of code inside the API, okay, because Firebase SDK will take care of that one and it's completely secured. Now first thing we are going to do is go to the Firebase config.tsx and make sure to export the new storage reference. Okay, and this you will get it from the get storage method. Okay, now just write like this, pass the app reference and then define this get storage, or make sure to import this get storage from Firebase slash storage. Okay, and once you initialize this so that you can easily use it. Now inside this button, first we'll create the file name. Okay, so for a file name I'm going to add a timestamp. Okay, and make sure it's in the form of string, so we'll say dot to string. So this is important because every time you will get a new timestamp and the file name will be the unique every time. Here if you want to add, or you can just add plus dot png as well, the extension, it's up to you. After this we are going to create an image reference, so I will say image reference is equal to reference. Now make sure to import it from the Firebase storage. Then inside that you need to add the storage reference which we just defined inside this Firebase config. Then you need to provide the folder name in which you want to save. So here we'll say wireframe to code. So I'm giving this same folder name, so every time it will save inside this particular folder slash and then the file name. Okay, once you define this image reference, now simply you can upload it. So here in order to upload we'll say await upload bytes, and inside the upload byte you need to provide the image reference along with the file which you want to upload. So here you already have, okay, so we don't have the file which we need to store it in one state. So here I'm going to add constant file comma set file is equal to use state. For now I'm passing type any. Okay, and here once we have the file we'll just set the file as a files of 0. Okay, because we only want to save one file, and now this particular file we are going to pass over here. Here I will make this as a async because we are using await, and once you provide this reference, that's all you need to do. Okay, if you want to check whether it's uploaded or not, you can just make a promise, and here you can say console.log image uploaded. Okay, now once the image is uploaded you need to get the download URL or image URL. Okay, so here we'll say constant image URL is equal to await get download URL, and again this particular method is importing from the Firebase storage, and simply inside that you need to pass this image reference, and let's console this image URL as well. Okay, now let's save this one and let's test this out. Obviously make sure to call this method when user click on convert to code button. Okay, now couple of things before moving forward. Here first thing we need to check that user selected the file. Second thing, user have the input selected. Okay, so here I'm going to add a condition if not a file or, and let me undo this one, and first I will define some state over here. So constant, here we'll say model comma set model is equal to use state, which is of type string I will give for now. Okay, after that we'll say constant, and description we'll say comma set description is equal to use state. Again this is type string, and whenever you will select the AI model, so over here we have a method called on value change on the select, so it will emit the value which you just selected, and then simply to the set model we are going to set this value. Okay, and for the input, so when you just enter the description inside the text area, here as well we'll say on change event, this will emit the event, and then we'll set the event dot target dot value. Okay, so inside description now we have the value, and now over here I will check if file is not selected, or If model is not selected, or if description is not there, then we'll simply return empty. And for now I will just console select all fields. Okay, and then save it. So this method is important. And now let's upload the image. So let's go back to our application. I will just make sure to refresh it. We have an error. It's saying the image upload, the unique key property need to be there. So let's check where it is. Oh, so over here we are supposed to add to this select item. Okay, now we don't have. Let's select the image. So I will select this image, then we'll select the AI model, and here we'll say product detail. Okay, and obviously inside the inspect panel we'll also inspect whether the image is uploaded or not. So we'll say convert to code, and if it's saying image uploaded, and boom, we also got the URL. And if I click on this URL, you will see this image is uploaded to our Firebase storage. How cool. Now if I go to the storage and open this, let me refresh the screen once. Okay, so we have this different one. Okay, so I think I did some, okay, that this is correct actually. And if you see, this is the image. Perfect, right? For confusion, I will make sure to delete this particular bucket or folder. We don't want this. And this is the folder which is the correct name, and in that one we have the image stored. Perfect. Now after the image is stored, the second thing that we need to implement is to save image URL along with the user input and uh, the model name into our database. Now to store all of this information to the database, we need to create a new table. Okay, so let's go back to our application and simply go to the config folder where we have the schema.ts. Now currently we only have the user table. So here we'll create a new table called export constant wireframe to code table is equal to pg table, and here the table name we need to give as, let's say, wireframe to code. Okay, and inside that we need to add an id. So I will add this id. Then we need to add a unique record id. Okay, so here we'll say a unique record id. So we'll say just uid. Again, it is type of integer and it should be a not null. Okay, then after that we need to add the image URL, which is of type varchar. Then we want to add the model. Again, this is varchar. Then the description, that is also varchar, and then created by, which contain the user email. So I will put it as a varchar for now. So these are the fields we need to add. And the last and very important, the generated code. Okay, so here we'll say code, and currently I will add it as a JSON. Okay, make sure to import from the PG core. I'm not sure, we can change this later on, no worry. Let's save this one. And now in order to make the changes to our database, first stop this local Visual Studio, and then I will just run this command called npx result kit push. Okay, so it will push all the new changes, and then again run the studio command. Now I will open it. Let's open inside the web browser and make sure this new table get added called wireframe to code. And if you see, we have all the column which we just added. Perfect. Now simply let's go back, and now we'll create an API endpoint. So inside the API, here we'll create a new folder called wireframe to code, and inside this endpoint we'll create a route.tsx. Now simply add a post API call. So here we'll say export async function this is a post call, and then request. Over here the request type is next request. Okay, now inside here first we need to accept whatever the value we want to get it. So in this case we'll say description, then the image URL, the model, and then unique record ID, and then user email. Okay, obviously everything we're gonna get it from the request.json, which is the post API body call. After this we'll simply need to make an API call. So here we say constant result is equal to, here we'll say await insert, oh sorry, db, make sure to get the reference, then insert the table name, which is wireframe to code table dot values. Okay, now inside the value we need to define all the value. Let's add uid first, so uid as a uid, then the description as a description, then image url as image url, then the model as model, and then created by with an user email. Okay, so all of this value we added. Obviously we don't have the code ready, so we'll keep this as a blank for now. We are not providing any value to that. Okay, and once it's there we'll say returning. You can simply return the id of inserted record. Okay, so we'll say wireframe to code dot id. You don't need to write anything, and the return will simply say next response dot json, and inside the result we'll just returning the result. Or just you can also, I think, return the result only. You don't need to provide like this, just return the result, so it will provide the id with the actual value. Okay, let's save it and let's test this out first. API call. So over here we're gonna make an API call. So here we'll say save inform to database, and inside here we'll add constant result is equal to await axios, because we need to make an post API call. So we'll say slash API slash wireframe to code, and inside the body now we need to provide all of this field. Okay, so the UID. So obviously we don't have the UID, so we'll generate one UID. Now in order to generate a UID, so here we'll say constant UID is equal to, I'm going to use a library called UUID4. Okay, and let me show you that library quickly. So which will generate a globally a unique identifier. Okay, and this is the command in order to install it, and this is how you can generate this unique identifier. So let me install this first, and in order to use it you just add UID4 like this. So let me import this quickly. Perfect. Now once you import, obviously it will generate unique ID, and then that unique ID we are going to pass. Then we want to add a description, which we already saving in a state. Then image URL, obviously this image URL which is generating from here, so we'll pass that image URL. Then the model as model, which user selected, and we are saving that in a state already. And what else, the user email. So for email we need to get the user information first over here. So we'll say constant user is equal to use auth context. Okay, so from that one you will get the user information, and to get the email we'll say user dot email. Now we'll simply console the result over here. Okay, and we'll see whether we are getting a data or not. So inside the result.data we'll get the actual response. Right now we have an error. So here in TypeScript this will giving this error, but it will not stop your application. Now to ignore this error you will just say ts ignore slash slash something like this. Okay, and if you see now the error is gone. Now let's go back to our application. Here I'm going to upload some image. Now you can even upload the actual screenshot of your website which you want to clone it. Okay, not clone, but you can convert that into actual code. Here we'll say create new database form. Okay, and inside the inspect panel I will make sure to see the result. So here we say convert to code, and we got an error. So if you see we have an error 500. Okay, it means we got an error inside the route. Okay, or sorry, inside our API endpoint. So if you see over here, it's saying invalid input syntax for a type integer, and there are other things. So inside the image URL might be an issue. Okay, so the problem here is we provided this UID, and this UID is in the form of string. Okay, and the problem is inside our schema or inside our wireframe table we mark it as an integer. So I will convert this to a varchar with a not null if you want, and then save it. And obviously we need to update our table, so I will stop this and I will push these changes, and now we'll run this one again. Okay, and let's see, let's save it, let's refresh it, and let's try it now. Now if I uploaded it and let's convert this to code, I have already uploaded this image, click convert to code, and boom, if you see we got the response of inserted ID. And if I go over here, refresh this, you will see the UID is added. Okay, so maybe I uncommented this image URL code over here, so it's not get uploaded. I will just uncomment this code and save it, and let's test this out again. I will delete this file, and now let's say convert to code. Now image uploaded, we got the image URL and the record as well. If I go over here, refresh it, you will see we have ID with a unique ID. The image URL is still missing. That's weird. Oh, so I don't know why I just put this empty string over here. So make sure that the image URL passing correctly. And now let me try it again. Now in this case, let me delete this record. We got the image URL, the model name, description as well. Obviously the code we did not generate it yet, but once we generate the code, then we'll add it here. Perfect. So that's how you can make sure to save the record into your database. Now the next step is, once we have the unique record ID, which we already have because we are generating this unique ID, I just need to put over here. And obviously once we have that, we're gonna redirect it to the new screen. Okay, so inside this app folder, inside the root directory, we are going to add a new route called view code. Okay, now inside the view code I'm going to add a dynamic route. Okay, so it has the unique ID which we are going to pass, and then inside that we'll say page.tsx. Let's add a default template. Here we'll say view code and then save it. Now the reason that we added this dynamic unique ID, because this unique ID is different every time. Now let me show you how it works. So inside the URL I will just put view code, and then you can put any ID over here and still it will redirect it to the view code, right? Now in this case we are going to pass this unique UID over here, something like this, right? And depends on this ID we are going to fetch the record from the database, and then we are going to convert it to the code. Okay, so that's what we are going to see next. Now we are going to implement the code view page, where we are going to generate the code depends on the user's wireframe and the description. So for that one, if you see on this particular mockup, we are going to add the user selection, like uploaded the wireframe, the input, and also we are going to add a selected model. And on the right hand side, we are going to add two sections. One is the code editor, where we are going to generate the whatever the code we generated, we can just display it over here, and then the preview section area. This preview section area and the code view is completely means you can expand this one is completely resizable. Okay, so that particular functionality also we are going to add it. So first let's go back to our application, and in the last section we see we already created this view code route. Just the thing is, now we need to redirect it to the new screen as soon as we save all the information to our database. So let's go back to this image upload file, and at the top we need to define the router. From the next/navigation. Also, I'm going to define one state called loading. Now this loading state will use whenever we are saving the image as well as the information to our database. So inside this on convert to code button click, we'll set the loading as true, and once everything is finished, we'll set the loading as a false. Also over here we'll simply redirect it to the new screen called /view code, and then after that we want to provide the unique ID, so the UID. Okay, and then save it. Now once you define this loading, it means whenever the server function calling is happening, right, at that time we need to disable this button and show some kind of loading indicator. So over here, let me bring this down, and simply I'm going to add a condition. If loading is there, then I'm going to add a loader icon. Otherwise I will keep this one sparkle icon. Okay, now for this loader icon I'm going to provide a class name, and we'll simply provide a Tailwind CSS class called animate spin, so it will just spin it round and round. Okay, also for this button I will put a disabled option only when the loading state is true. Okay, now obviously loading state is true only when we are click on this button, and once operation is finished we will set the loading false, and then we'll redirect it to the new page. Let's test this out. So I will refresh the screen, then we'll simply select this image. So over here we'll select this image. You can select the AI model, and here we'll say product detail screen. Okay, and simply click convert to code, and if you see we have indicator as soon as, and also the button is disabled, and boom, we redirect it to this view code page where we have this unique ID as well. Now the next step is, depends on this unique ID, we need to fetch the data from our database. So obviously in this case this record we should fetch it. Okay, so we need to write an API for that one. So it's a simple get API. So let's go back to our API, and inside the API we already have this wireframe to code. Inside this route.tsx we'll add a get route. Okay, so over here we say function get API call request, and this will be next response. Then now in order to get the parameter, right, from whatever parameter which we are passing to this query, so here we'll simply add constant request URL is equal to request dot URL, and here we'll say constant search params is equal to new URL, and inside that we need to add request dot URL, or just request URL because we already defined that one. So just request URL, and whatever the information we need to pass. So in this case we want to get user ID, so I will say search params, so is equal to search params dot get, and we'll say UID. That's all we want. Now once we have UID, if here we'll say if UID is there, then we need to check, or we need to fetch the data. So here we say constant result is equal to await db dot select from, and then the table name which is wireframe to code table dot where equal to and wireframe to code dot uid matches with our uid. Okay, and once we get the result, we'll simply return the next response dot json, and inside that we'll pass the first element. Okay, because we are just getting one in our record, that's why we are passing the first element. Otherwise we'll simply return next response dot json, and here I'm going to add a result as no record found. Okay, or we can simply say error as no record found, and then save it. Now once this particular get request is ready, now inside this view code, okay, inside this view page.tsx file, here we need to create one method called constant get record info, and inside that we'll say constant result is equal to await axios dot get request slash api slash wireframe to code. Okay, now when we use get api, it will automatically call this particular get api endpoint and not the post one. Okay, so this is very important. So that's the reason we added in the same file but different method, and here we'll make this async. Now you don't need to pass any body because this is a get call, but simply you need to pass uid inside the this particular parameter. So here we say uid is equal to, and then whatever uid we are getting, right? So this uid we need to get it. So it's quite easy to get it. So simply here you need to write constant, you need to restructure this parameter. So in this case, whatever the folder name you give, you need to pass, and here we'll say use path name. Okay, that's all. So uid is of type string, so I'll just provide it as a string. Oh, so this need to be params, actually use params, okay, and not path name. And now uid with the type string, and then here we provide a uid. So I don't know why. Okay, you don't need to pass it because it already have this information, and now we pass this uid. Okay, and now this get record info we need to call inside the use effect. So here we'll call use effect, and whenever the uid is available, then only we are going to call this method get record info. Okay, now inside that we'll simply console the result dot data and then save it. So let's go back to browser and we'll see whether we are getting any data or not. So right now it's saying we use path name and params. So simply we need to mark this component on the client side. Okay, and now if I refresh it, so it's still refreshing, and boom, if you see, we got the data, obviously, which contain uid, image url, model, description created by, and lot of other things. Now here we need to check whether the code is null or not. If it's null, then only we need to generate the code, right, from the AI model. If code is already there, then we don't need to generate it again. So basically we need to call a generate code method. So over here we'll say constant generate code, and this method we are going to call inside here. So here we'll say first we'll save constant response is equal to result dot data, and here we'll say if result so if response is equal to null, is response dot code is equal to null, then we are going to call this generate code method. Okay, and also we are going to write one more, if response dot error, then we can show some kind of toast message. Here we'll just simply say no record found. But also if the code is there, then we need to handle in a different way that we will see in some moment. Okay, but before first we need to make sure to generate the code with the help of AI model. Now, in order to make an API call to the AI model, we need a different AI model because we are using the Gemini or DeepSync and lot of other things, right? So for that one, we are going to use this Openrouter.ai library. Obviously, it's free to use, and I'm going to tell you how can we use it for a free. You also have the Gemini option, okay, that's also free, and you can watch my previous video, the previous AI video where I use the Gemini in all of that video. But in this Openrouter.ai, the Gemini also free, and we are going to use that one as well. So simply go to this Openrouter.ai. I will keep the link in the description, and simply go to these models. Now here you will see a bunch of different models, see, and many of them are free. So over here you have option, you can see which one is free, which is not. Obviously you can just change this to free, and then you will get all the free AI model. So after investigation and testing, I see that Gemini Flash or Gemini Exprint, any Gemini model is quite fast. They give you a proper result, and it's quite wonderful. Other than I didn't like DeepSync that much because I tested and Gemini was the best for me. Okay, and there are a lot of AI model which you can explore it. Now whatever the model you like it, simply open that model, and over here once you open it, right, you will see all of these details. Will not go into that in a depth detail, but over here click API. Okay, and here you need to create a new API key. Okay, so if you don't have an account, you need to create one, and this is the example that how you can use this API. Okay, let's create an API. So I will go to this create API key. It will ask you to log in it. So I will just log in, and once you log in, you will go redirect it to this API key. You can also go from here and the keys. Okay, and then simply create an API key. So here we'll say production. You can put the credit limit, is completely optional, and simply click create. Then you will get this API key. Now make sure you will see this API key only once. So copy it as soon as it generate. So I will paste it inside this .env file, and I will just name it as the Open Router AI API key. Okay, and we'll paste this key and then save it. Now guys, this is again I'm telling you that this is completely free to use. Okay, so don't worry. Now once you copy this, like again go to the model. I will select the free model. I will select this experimental model, okay, because it's quite powerful. Go to the API section. Now you already have the API key, and simply select the TypeScript because we are using TypeScript, and then you need to copy this everything as it is. Now before that, we need to install this OpenAI SDK. Okay, so let's go back to our VS Code, and here run a command called npm I OpenAI. Now once it is installed, then just copy everything as it is, and inside the API we'll create a new folder called AI model. Inside this AI model endpoint, we'll create a route.tsx file, and we'll simply actually we need to create an post request. So here we'll say post request. Okay, and this is of type next request, and inside that I will paste all of this code. Obviously you need to let me undo this one. We'll do one by one. So first we need to import this OpenAI. Then you need to initialize this OpenAI. So you can initialize at the top. Now I'm not using this default header. Okay, this is only just you can show your ranking on their site. Okay, so I will remove that one. Now in this API section, you need to get that API from your environment variable. So just go to this env file and make sure to copy this variable name and then paste it here. So you can able to pass this API key. After this, you need to copy everything as it is, and simply paste it here. Perfect. Okay, now here we'll say response. I will just rename this to response. Now this is simple OpenAI call. Okay, and here if you see we are providing the model name. Okay, now obviously we need to provide the model name, depends on the user selection. So what I will do, I will just copy this model name and simply let's go to the not components, but inside the routes we have the dashboard, and inside the image upload, if you remember, we already have this option called AI model list, right? We can either move this model from to some other place. So here we'll say model name and I will paste this. Okay, same thing I'm going to do for a Llama by Meta. So I will go back and I will search for the Meta model, which is free. So if you see there are a bunch of other, I will use this one. Oh, this is much better. This is 90B, and you can simply go to the API and copy this model name and we'll paste it here. We'll say model name, and the last here as well we need to add a deep sync model name. So if you see we also have the deep sync, again this is also free, so I will use this deep sync. You can, if you see this is also same model name, you can copy that one as well and we'll paste it here. Now this particular AI model list, I will just cut it from here. Okay, and I already created a new file under the data folder. If you see the new folder created of data, inside that I added this constant. I already have the prompt, but I will explain that later on. But let's paste this AI model list. Okay, so now inside this image upload, I will just use this AI model. We'll make sure to import this AI model list. Oh, sorry, I think we exported this, right? So we'll say constants dot AI model list. So the error is gone, and here make sure to save this file. And once we get the model information, obviously from the post request, first we'll get all the data which is required. So for example, let's say constant, inside that we'll get the model name, then the description. Here I will just say model because we only have the Google Meta or something like that, right? Just a model name, and then the image URL. Okay, these three value is very important, so we'll get that one. Here we'll say request.json because we are getting from the post request body. Now depends on the model, so I'm going to get the model name. So here we'll say model name is equal to constant dot AI model list of here we'll say find model, here we'll say item dot name. Okay, so depends on the name, we'll get the model name, obviously model object we'll say, and then in order to get a model name, we'll say model object dot model name. Okay, and now this model name I'm going to pass over here. I will just console this as well. If you get any error, we'll check whether we are getting model name or not. Model name might be an empty sometimes, right? So in that case, I'm going to keep then some default one. Okay, so for default one, let's go to that AI model list, and I will keep this Google one as a default one. So here let's add this as a default one if model name is not exist. That's why I added this double question mark. And then inside the messages over here, I will inside the user message, because this is the user content, right? Here I'm going to simply provide the description, and under this image URL you need to provide your image URL which you uploaded into the Firebase, so that image URL. Okay, because obviously everything we have already over here. Make sure we'll add this condition model item depth dot is equal to model. Okay, I think we are good for now. Next, we need to get the response in the form of string. So as soon as the AI generated the content line by line, we are going to get all the content every time line by line. So that code we need to add it here. So I already have, I will just paste this over here because it's little bit complicated, but that's fine. Okay, and I will just make sure to paste it here. And to make it as a stream, here you need to provide a stream to true. Okay, and if you see now we don't have any error. Also, you can take a screenshot of this line of code, so you can just implement as it is. It's just getting the converting our stream into a readable stream so that you can pass it as soon as the data is ready and is generated with the help of AI. Okay, so this post request is now ready. I will save it. Let's go back to this page.tsx file, and inside the generate code we need to make an API call to this particular API endpoint. Now to this particular method I'm going to pass the response. Okay, so I will accept the response over here. Now we need to provide a type for the response, so I will just define the type over here. So we'll say interface record, and inside that we'll say id is of type number, then we have description is of type string, then we have code. I will put it any for now. Then let me go back. We have image URL model. Image URL is of type any, model is of type string. Okay, so this is also a string, and the last is created by, that is also a string. Okay, so all of this information is ready and you just need to pass it as a type record. Now inside this generate code we'll say constant result is equal to await, and here we cannot use Axios because Axios cannot work with the streaming response. So here we'll simply use a fetch. Inside the fetch you need to provide an API endpoint, so /API/Gemini API. Let's make this async first. Then we need to pass a method. So in this case this is the post request. Then the inside the header we'll pass a content type, as application/JSON. After that we need to pass a body, so make sure it is in the form of string. So we'll say json.stringify, and inside that we need to pass a description. So here we'll say record. Okay, so I will just change this to a record. So record dot description, then we have the model that we need to pass. So record dot model, and then the image URL. The image URL. Okay, so these all three fields we need to pass so that we can accept this inside this post request, and that's all we need to do right now. So now inside the if, I will say if response dot body is not there, then we'll return nothing. Okay, and then once we have the information, then we need to save that one, but first we'll console it. Obviously whatever response we are getting, we need to decode that first because we are getting in the form of readable stream. So here we'll say reader is equal to response dot body dot get reader, and then here we'll say constant decoder is equal to new text decoder. After that we'll use a while loop. Okay, until unless we are getting the information, we just will be inside the while loop only. So here we'll say constant done comma value. Now done will execute once everything is finished, and here we'll say await. reader dot read. Okay, so it will read each data which we are getting from the readable stream. Now if done is there, means we will break this while loop. Okay, and we will be outside the while loop. After that we'll get the text, whatever the text we are getting. So here we simply say decoder dot decode the value, so this value, and then we'll simply return nothing, but here I am just consoling the text. We'll see whether we are getting data or not. Okay, so that's all we needed for now. Perfect. Now let's save this one, and for now I'm going to pass a loading comma set loading state is equal to use state. I will make this as a false for now, and whenever the set, here we'll need the set loading as a true. After this we'll set the loading as a false, and again inside the generate code I will set the loading as a true. And once everything is finished, so after the while loop I will add the set loading false. Now for the testing purpose I'm going to add if loading is true, and we'll say we'll add a loader, and we'll simply add a class name animate spin and save it. Okay, now let's go back to our application, and I will go to this page where we are working. So right now we might have an error. Okay, so that's a very big thing. Okay, so it's saying 3000. Okay, so I think we added this wrong API endpoint. I believe our API endpoint name is just AI model. So we'll save this with the AI model. Now we refresh this window. In the network tab you can always check. So if you see the AI model is currently in the pending state. Now once it's done, wow, it's writing some code for us. Okay, but it's weird, it's something not familiar. See, okay, it's writing something. Obviously we did not instruct to our AI model what to generate, right? We are just providing the whatever the input we are getting and everything, but we are not providing any instruction. Now to pass the instruction, let's go to this route.tsx file, and inside here we need to pass our prompt. So either you can define over here, or when you are passing the data you can just add it to this one. Now inside this constant.tsx I already added this big chunk of prompt, okay, which telling that how to generate, what to generate and everything. Okay, and that prompt we need to pass this. So it's quite simple. Simply you can go to this page.tsx, and after this description I will add the that particular prompt. So here we say constant dot prompt. Okay, so I will remove this comma, and now this particular description and prompt we are passing. Let's save this and let's test this out now. Okay, so inside the network tab you can even check AI model with all the big prompt, right? And inside the console now you will see we are generating a proper data. Cool, right? Now obviously it contains a lot of other information, all the code is getting printed out. How cool, guys. And still it's generating the code for us, okay, because we uploaded the big size of wireframe, and that's why it's generating all of this code. Now once it is generated, you will see there are a couple of things we need to figure it out. First, we don't need this particular Typescript text. Okay, so you can just replace with that particular string and over here as well. So simply what you can do, whenever you are putting the text to this one, I will add a replace, and then we'll replace this Typescript tag with an empty value. Again I will replace this 3 tag which is coming at the end. I will replace this one as well with an empty string. Okay, and then we'll get the clean code for us. Now let's save this code in one state. So here we'll say constant code response comma set code response is equal to use state. Okay, initially make sure to pass it as a empty, otherwise it will append with the undefined, right? So that is very important. And at the end we'll set, not here but inside this one only, we'll set the code response with the previous value, and then we'll connect with the text or new, or sorry, the first make sure to connect previous plus the new text. Okay, so every time it will get append. And for your testing purpose only, I'm going to print that out inside this code response. Okay, let's save this one and let's test this out. And if you see, it's writing the code. How beautiful. And it has an import statement, it has their own icon generated, so that's cool, and it's still generating the code for us, right? And that's what we are implemented. Now obviously this is not look good to me, right? And there are a lot of other things we need to implement. So this is line of code which is generated. Obviously if you copy this code and run it somewhere, you will get a proper preview of the application. But obviously we need to add our own code editor and own preview where you can see the code in the exact format, and you can also see the preview as well. Obviously if you see inside the wireframe, this is how we want to do. But for now I hope you understand how we generated this code with the help of the different AI model. And obviously this currently is generated with the help of Google Gemini, but we already have, I told you how to integrate with other model like DeepSync, Meta, and all other free AI model. So next we are going to add the editor, all of this wireframe, so we'll actually converting into a real view. Now let's remove all of this data first. Okay, so I will just remove everything. And here we are going to create two new component. One to view the user selection details, and other is to view the code, or we'll say code editor. So let's create a new component folder under this view code, and I will just name it as a underscore component. Inside that we'll set the selection detail.tsx file. I will add a default template for this one, and we'll create another file for code editor.tsx. Here as well I will add a default template, and make sure to add this both component over here. Now make sure that you need to only provide this much area to this particular detail section and a bigger size area to this one, right? Now you need to divide this screen into two different column. So over here I will simply add a div first. Here make sure to provide the app header as well, okay, because we want to provide the app header. Let's add app header, and let's see how it looks on this screen. So obviously it's saying that you need a sidebar. Okay, so let's do a couple of things. First, I will not generate any code, so I will just comment this generate code component method. Okay, otherwise it will generate every time when we save the changes. And inside the app header we'll say hide sidebar, and here we'll say true. Okay, now inside the app header I will accept this, we'll say hide sidebar, and by default I will make it false, and just pass this hide sidebar, or we can use this condition over here. If hide sidebar is true, or if it's false, then only show it simply. Okay, and then save it. Let's save over here. Okay, it was just spelling mistake, so I fixed this one. Now I hopefully we can able to see the header. See, right now we only have the username. That's completely fine for now. Okay, now let's implement this left side section. So I added this div. Inside this we'll add two div. Okay, and one for the selection details and one for the code editor. Now inside the selection detail I will simply add the selection detail component, and inside the code editor I will add a code editor component. Here you will see this both the components, right? Now For this parent div, we'll simply add a class name and we'll say a grid column, or first make it grid, then we'll say grid column 1 when the screen size is smaller, but when it's medium or larger, we'll say grid column 5. Now out of this 5 column, we will assign 4 column to this code editor. So here we'll say class name column span 4, and the remaining one will automatically get assigned to this detail. Let's save it and let's see. And if you see, now we for the selection detail we have this much section, and code editor we have this complete area. Cool, right? Also over here we'll add a padding to 5, so we have some space. That's pretty good. Now for this selection detail, we need to pass the data which we are fetching right from the database. So over here I will define constant record comma set record is equal to use state, and simply once it is generated, we'll set, or we can set it here only, set record as result dot data, and save it. Now this record information we need to pass to this selection detail component, and inside the selection detail make sure to accept it. Now here we need to provide the type as well. Now the type is similar to what we define over here, okay? So for this interface, so I will just export this interface so that we can use it. So here we'll say record interface. So you don't need this and okay, so we need to provide the type for this one as well as a record, or it might be a null. So I put both the condition. I'm not sure whether this, so I move this any for now and we'll change this, okay? And once we pass this record detail, let's go to this selection detail, and inside here at the top we want to show the image. So here I will add the image tag. From the next slice image, inside that we provide a source, and here we'll say record dot image URL, okay? In the alt tag I will say just image or wireframe, then we'll give width, let's say 300, height 400, and inside the class name we'll make a rounded corner to large. Let's save it and let's test this out whether we are getting the image or not. So right now it's saying the empty string has passed to source attribute. So basically the record is getting empty. So in the meantime we can add a condition if loading is false, okay, or not here, but in the selection detail we can say, let me go to this one. Here we'll say if record is there then only show it, okay? So just add record is there, then only show this particular UI. And now if I go to this one, we getting this error. It's saying the particular host name called Firebase storage is not configured under the next.config.js. So simply copy this domain. Then you need to tell to the Next.js make that particular domain whitelisted, so that Next.js will not consider that this is the any security issue or something like that. So simply make sure to add that one under the next.config.js, let's say images, then in curly braces say domain, and here you need to provide the domain list. Let's save this one, restart your application. I will just refresh the screen, and here we have this beautiful image showing on the screen. Perfect. Now obviously we need to modify a little bit. First, for this grid I'm going to add a gap of let's say 10. So if you see we have some space now. Then let's go to the selection detail again, and for this particular div I will add a class name. We'll add a padding to 5 and we'll add a background gray, let's say 50, okay? Let's see how it looks. So we have this little gray background. I will say height to screen, so it's a full screen now, okay? just keep it for now as it is, and here we'll say object contain, then we'll provide a specific height, let's say 300 pixel, and width we'll say full. Perfect. I think height is too much, so let's make it 200. Perfect. Now above this I will also add a label, say s2 tag, and here we'll say wireframe. For this one I will add class name, we'll say font bold, margin y to 2, and save it. Perfect. After this we can also add a border, so to this one only we can add a border, we'll say border dash, and if you want you can add some padding. Now to this border is already rounded, so no need to do anything, and if you see we have this border, and inside that we have this image. Make sure the background for this one is white, so you can able to see this clearly. Okay, now below this we need to show the AI model which user selected, so that you can just simply show as a text. So I will add a s2 tag, we'll say AI model, and then we need to show a model name, so we'll say record dot model. See, and it's showing Gemini Google. Now if you want to fetch the image or icon of that model, you can also do that. For now I will add class name here, padding to 1, a background white, border rounded medium, or simply you can simply add an input tag. I'm not sure whether we have the input component, and to this input component you can add this value, so default value. So we don't need this s2 tag, and boom, see. Also here I will add a class name, and I will just make a background white. For this s2 tag I will add a class name, margin top to let's say 4. Okay, and also I will add same class name, whatever class name we added for the wireframe, but margin top to 4, margin bottom to 2. Perfect. Okay, we have an error, so it's saying on change. Okay, so just ignore it for now, or you can say default value, and here we'll say disabled as a true. Okay, so you will see this disabled value only. Okay, and the selected AI model. After this we need to show the description, so I will copy this as it is. Only this instead of input I will say text area, and here we'll say description. I don't know whether we want this colon, we just remove that one, and I think instead of model we'll say description, and save it. Perfect. Right now we did not add a big description now, but we have this description. You can just provide some height to that one, so here we'll say height to 180 pixel, so some defined height, something like this. See, now for this particular background we can add some rounded corner. Here I will change this to height to 80%, let's say percentage, or we'll say vertical height. I think vertical height much better, and also I will make rounded large, and make this gray to 100, so little darker. Perfect. So this is this detail section is now ready. Now next we are going to implement the code editor. In order to add an editor, we are going to use this Sandpack by Code Sandbox SDK. which give you the beautiful code editor along with the code preview, and it will look something like this. Cool, right? So let's jump on the documentation. So first let's go to this sandpack.code sandbox.io and then go to the documentation. Here is a simple example that how to use it. Now inside the get started you will see this installation step, or on the left hand side you will see the install option. Simply copy this command and inside the terminal just paste it here. Now it will install the code sandpack react SDK, and just with this particular line you will able to see this terminal along with the code editor. Now obviously we want to add this inside this code editor.tsx file, and then make sure to import this sandpack as well. So let's copy this sandpack statement and we'll import it here and save it. Now if I go back to our application, let me refresh this once, you will see that we have this beautiful editor, and on the right hand side we have uh, the output, okay, whatever the output we are able to see. So currently the default one is the simple HTML CSS file, but you can even provide uh, the which language do you want to use. So if I scroll down little bit, let's go to this usage option, and here you have different options like static HTML, Angular, React, Solid, Vanilla, Vue, and lot of other. So just select the React, and then if you see this example, you just need to provide the template as React. And if I refresh it, you will see the simple two lines template for the React and the corresponding output. Cool, right? Now there are a lot of things that we need to update over here. Now here if you scroll down from the documentation, you will see a lot of different options to add to the sandpack component. So for example, if you want to add your own file, that you can add it, and this particular things also we need it because we want to pass our own React generated code with the help of AI, right? Now if I pass this one and save it, if I go back, you will see our code and this sandpack output. Cool, right? But as I say that we want to pass our own code, okay? So from the code editor we are going to get the information. So go to this selection editor first, not selection but inside the page.tsx where we have this code editor. Inside that, once we receive the code response, we're going to pass over here. So I will say code response is equal to code response, and inside the code editor we'll also get it here as a code response. Okay, and I will put the type any and save it. Obviously we just commented the code generation method, okay, so we'll update it later on, but first we'll set up all of this information. Now for the sandpack as well, if I go to the documentation, if you scroll down little bit, you will see a different file format. Then you can even add a dependencies, see something like this, right? So this is the option, or this is the way that you can add a dependency. Now dependency is nothing but the library which you want to add and put the support to your code editor, right? So I already added some of the library like port css, tailwind, then the lucid react, react dom, firebase, generative AI, date, and lot of others. Now this this dependency I put it inside this constant.tsx file under the data folder. So in order to use it, I will just use it something like this. So here we say dot 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 constants dot dependency. Okay, so I just destructure it with using this spread operator so that we can use it. Let's save it and then scroll down little bit. So this is fine. Okay, so here you can add the external resources like Tailwind CSS. So it will give you the Tailwind CSS support as well, and that is very important for us, so we want it. So I added that option as well, and I think that's all we needed. Okay, now in order to see the example, let's copy this example. Okay, so I will copy everything, and inside this file let's paste it. Okay, let's say this is generated code with the help of AI. You added for this app.js, and if I go to this one, boom, if you see, we have the code, and also we have the, on the right hand side we have the preview as well. Also it is completely resizable, so you can resize according to your requirement. Now I will just undo this one. Next thing we wanted to add for the sandbox is, let's scroll little bit. So it also have one option called, inside the option called show navigator. Okay, so simply over here under this option, after this external resources, if you type it, you will get the suggestion as well. Set show navigator as a true. Now once you add this option, you will see this uh, search bar, okay, where you have option to refresh as well and everything. So that is nothing but the navigator. Also if I write something like show tabs, okay, and just make this as a true and save it, you will see the tab with a file name as a app.js. okay, if you have multiple files you can add that one, but right now our application only generate a single file, okay, but here if you add, if you want, you can add a more file as well. Also inside the option I'm going to add the editor height, okay, let's make it like say 700, so it automatically expand something like this. See, now it's a complete one, so here we'll make 600. Let's see how it looks. I think 600 is fine, and if you see it's aligned to our detail section as well, so that's cool. The last thing, I think we can update the theme. Okay, so if I go to this theme section, you will find a different option for a theme. Okay, now in order to utilize this any of the theme, first you need to install this sandpack theme. Okay, if I go to the Google, search it, you will see this npm command in order to install this sandbox sandpack theme. Okay, so I will just add it here, and once you add it, you can simply use any theme from this list. Okay, let's say you want to use something like any dark theme, or I don't know, I would just want little white theme only. So I will select this aqua blue, and inside the theme you need to provide it as a aqua blue. Okay, so just copy this, and over here we'll say aqua blue. So I'm not getting suggestion for import, but let's copy this command and save it here. Okay, and save it. Now if I go to our application, you will see this beautiful color theme. Okay, obviously you can change, you can make it dark theme as well. So if I type dark, okay, so dark don't need any library, but if you put the dark, this is how it will look like. Okay, so it's up to you what kind of theme you want to use. I will keep light theme only. Now next thing, obviously we are going to load the code, but when the code is generating, right, we don't want to show this uh, right side preview. Okay, otherwise every time if you something, see, if you something like this, right, if there is any error, every time it will show this error. So to avoid it, there is another way that you can implement this sandpack, and that is nothing but the components. Okay, now sandpack also provide the each component differently. So you have the code editor, you have the sandpack preview section, and depends on that one you can implement it. Let's implement. So what we can do, first let's go to the page.tsx file, and here I'm going to add, we'll say is ready. Okay, comma set is ready is equal to use state, and let's make this as a false initially. Okay, now when you are generating the code, here we'll say, okay, let's, you can also mention over here, we'll say set ready to false only. Okay, I think it's already false, so you don't need to do anything, but once it is done, you can just make this as a true. Okay, so once we have all the code, then we'll setting as a true, but for this code editor we are also going to send is ready parameter. Okay, so is ready is equal to is ready, and inside the code editor I will accept here. Now when the this is ready is true, it means you can show this sandpack code. Okay, so over here I will just simply add is ready, and otherwise I'm going to add the custom, not custom but sandpack components. Okay, some this one. So I will just copy this and we'll paste it here. So if you don't want the code editor, code preview, you can even remove that, and make sure to import this provider, the layout, and the editor as well. Now here as well, you need to provide a different parameter. For example, you can add a theme as aqua blue. Then for a files, right, so what we can do, can simply add /app.js, and inside that now we'll put our own file. So first we'll provide the code, so dollar code response. Here you can make it as an active tab as well. Okay, and here I'm going to update. So let me remove this. Here we're gonna pass our code response. Okay, after this we need to add a custom dependencies as well. So I will copy for this provider too, and the last is the options. Okay, so this show navigator will not applicable to this provider. I'm going to tell you how to do it. But so in order to add a navigator and everything, for the code editor you can say show tabs. Okay, and then make it true. Then inside the style you can even give the height, let's say height to 70 vertical height, and that's all we needed for now. Now you might have you might thinking why we are just not using sandpack, or why just we are not using sandpack provider. Okay, because if you add these custom or sandpack components, you are not able to expand this one, right? You can resize it. You can just have option on the left and right hand side, and in order to make it resizable, right, we need that only sandpack provider and not this component. So initially I just want to show the code, and once the code is ready, then I can able to show this sandpack default component. Okay, so let's save this for now and let's see how it looks. So right now if you see, I'm just able to see this app.js file, but as soon as the code is ready, then I can able to see this sandpack component. Okay, now let's test this out. So let's go to this page.tsx file, and hopefully everything is correct. So I will just uncomment this code. Okay, and then save it. Now it's refreshing. Obviously it takes some time to load the data, but as soon as we get the data, you will see the magic. See, now automatic is writing the code for us. How cool. And if you see, perfect, right? So that's how guys you need to write it. But once it finished, it will move to our default component. So it's still writing, so we'll wait, and boom, if you see, it's ready. Okay, perfect. Now we have an error. If you see, we have this tsx issue. Okay, saying the tsx at the top. So I will just remove this and rerun it again. Okay, so this is the error inside the program. That's weird. So this error came because this is a TypeScript file, and I'm not sure why. Okay, let's me remove this, and now if you see, we have an beautiful ready UI, and if you see the wireframe and the output quite similar, right? Perfect. So that's how you can do it, but obviously we're gonna update our prompt little bit. We are gonna tell that okay, we just want the JavaScript result and not any other like Typescript or anything. Okay, because our file name is .app.js, so that's why. So inside our prompt, if you see, we have this TypeScript written and it's saying use TypeScript. So instead of that one, I will just change this to a JavaScript, and I think so it will help us. Okay, let's save it and let's test this out again. So I will just refresh it because right now we are not saving anything. Okay, so we'll just refresh and we'll see the output. Now it started generating the code, so we'll wait, and boom, if you see, now we have this beautiful output. Perfect, and everything looks quite good. So whatever we have the wireframe, that similar uh, UI is generated with the help of our AI model. Now simply whenever you want, you can just copy this code and use it into your application. Now on the screen, we are also giving an option to regenerate the code if user face any issue or any error inside the code. So on this section, just below to this description, I'm going to add a button. So let's go back to the selection detail, and at the bottom, we'll add a button. And here we'll just say regenerate code. Now here I will say a button called, let's say, refresh, something like this, and then save it. Now I don't know, but if you see, the button is showing on the screen. I will just add a comment for now because otherwise it will start generating everything. Okay, so I think I'm good for now. Let's give some style. So over here we'll add a margin top to 7 and width to full. Perfect. Okay, so if you see right now it's going out of this because we mentioned the height. Okay, so I will remove this height for now and automatically it will fill this area. Perfect. Next, whenever we click regenerate code or when the code is generating, right, and still it takes some time to take a response, and the meantime here I'm gonna show some kind of loading indicator. So whenever the loading is true, because we already have this loading indicator, right, I don't think so we need. So this set loading false, I'm gonna keep, maybe we can keep it here. So set loading false. Okay, and over here we'll add a condition. If loading is true, then I'm gonna simply add one div. Inside this div, I'm gonna add a h2 tag, and here we say analyzing the wireframe. Okay, and you can add the loader as well. Here we'll say class name animate spin, and for this h2 tag I'm gonna give a font bold, text 3xl, text align in the center of the screen. Also we'll give padding to, let's say, 20. I think that's all we needed. And if loading is false, then obviously I'm gonna show the code editor. Okay, so here I'm gonna add question mark and here the colon so that we can just show the code indicator. Okay, perfect. Let's test this out. Obviously for now what I'm going to do, see, if I refresh it, right, obviously it's showing immediately because loading indicator is false, but I am gonna make it true. I will just comment this so you will see the loading indicator. Okay, now let's bring everything in one line because that's not in the same line. So inside the page.jsx where we added this loading indicator, I will make this flex. Okay, and then we'll put item to be in the center, justify content in the center. I don't think so. Okay, that's good, but let's add We already have padding, so let's add a background, select 100. I think that's pretty good, and here we'll add height of 80 vertical height. Okay, perfect. And if you see, we have this now option called analyzing wireframe, and then once it's ready, it will show it. Okay, I will also add a border radius here, or rounded corner to Excel. So it's look good, and it will just replace with the code editor. Okay, now let's test this out. So, and one more important thing we forgot, that we need to add on click method on this button. So here we'll add on click, and we'll simply say regenerate code. Okay, now this particular method we're gonna send back to this page.jsx, and it will get it here. To this method, right, I'm going to simply call the get record info method. Okay, because from the record we again have the response that we are passing. It's up to you, but that's completely fine. Okay, so you can just call that method get record info. Let's save everything, and now I will just uncomment whatever we commented, right, and save it. Now if I refresh the screen, you will see, oh, so it's immediately started. That's weird. So maybe okay, let's comment this out, because we have the generate code and then we have the loading true, right? But again, that's fine, it started generating the code. Let me see, yeah, it's generating, and boom, if you see, we have this beautiful code ready. Now if I click on regenerate code, nothing is happening. That's where, let's see, inside the inspect panel. So on the click of generate, we are supposed to trigger. So maybe we did not save anything or what. So one thing we mistaken over here, that this regenerate code we are supposed to connect to the selection detail, because that button is inside the selection detail component. So that's the reason it was not working. But now if I refresh it, you will see that right now it's showing this indicator saying analyzing the wireframe, and once the code is ready, it will show the actual code for that particular wireframe. And once everything is finished, then it will actually show the code. Now if you want to regenerate code again, just click on it, and boom, if you see, it started analyzing the wireframe. Okay, now one more thing you need to do over here, that you need to update this regenerate code button, and here as well, if you see, it's showing the code view. Obviously, until and unless it's not completed, it will show that error. So let's fix that one as well. So basically, when we click on the regenerate code, right, first thing you need to do to set is ready as a false. Okay, so over here we'll say set is ready as a false, then we'll set the code response as a just a simple string, and that's all. So these things we need to take care of. Also inside the selection detail, right, when the ready is false, so here we'll say is ready, and we'll pass is ready as well. Now let's go to this selection indicator, and here accept as is ready. Oh, sorry, the reason that we need this field, because we can disable this button when the code generation is going on. So here we'll just disable this when the is ready is false. Okay, let's save it and let's test this out. So right now I think code is generating, and again, so if you see, the analyzing the wireframe, and that's why the regenerate code is false. But yeah, and once it is finished, then you can it automatically enable this particular button. Okay, so we'll wait. If you see, we have some now different code, but yeah, the file is ready. So that's how you need to do. Obviously on the click, it will again generate it. So if you have any question, any doubt, let me know in the comment section. Now whenever the code generation is complete, we need to update to our database. So for that one, let's go to the API endpoint, and here that in that API endpoint we need to write an update call. So inside the wireframe to code, inside the route.tsx file, here I'm gonna add an update route. So here we'll say export async function, and here we'll write a put API call. Okay, because put method we want to write. Here we'll say request, because the reason that we use put, this need to be a next request, is we want to update the existing record. Okay, now inside here we'll say constant, we need to get a UID, the unique ID, and the code response. Here we'll say is equal to await request dot JSON. Now put request is quite similar to post request, so obviously we are going to pass the data to this body as well. And then inside here we'll say constant result is equal to await db dot update, and here inside that update we need to provide the table name, so which is wireframe to code dot set, and inside the set we need to provide what value you want to update. So we have the code value and we'll update with the code response. And after that we add a where clause, because we only want to update specific record, right? So we need to say wireframe to code dot here we'll say UID, which matches with our UID, and once it is updated you can even return the ID of updated record. So over here we'll say ID colon, we'll say UID only, wireframe to code dot UID, and then at the last we'll simply return next response dot JSON with the result, and that's all. Okay, so our put request is our put endpoint is ready. Now let's go to the view code page.tsx file, and after this generate code we're gonna write one new method. We'll say constant update code to db, and inside here we'll simply call an Axios API call. So here we say result is equal to Axios, here we'll say await first Axios dot put, and we'll say slash API slash wireframe to code, and inside that we need to pass UID. We already have the UID, so from the record we can get that UID as well. So here we'll say record dot UID, and then okay, so over here let me make this as a async. So UID I don't think so we mentioned. Okay, so over here we also need to get UID, because we have that user UID, so this is of type string, so that's the reason we are getting error, we forgot to add that. And after that we want to add a code response as code response, okay, because we already have the code response, and that code response we are passing to this body. Once it is done we'll simply return the result, and this update code to db we're gonna call inside this generate code, something like this. Okay, let's save everything and let's go back to our application, and let me go to the next. So over here we'll say view code, and I already have the one ID, so I will execute that one. So this is the login screen. So if you see right now it's analyzing, and once our code generation is finished it should save the record into database, and if you see it's beautifully generated the output for us. I'm not sure whether it's really updated or not, but we did not get any error. If you refresh this screen and just search for the code, I don't think so it's updated. If you see it's still null, maybe we need to refresh the screen or not sure. So make sure everything is correct. Let's go to the network tab, and here I don't think so that particular API endpoint get called. So it's look like if you see in the code response it's empty, and the put request. Okay, so it look like it does not call this method. Okay, so we need to call this method outside of this one. Okay, maybe we can call over here and let's save it and let's test this out now. Now the analyzing started. Okay, we had error, the fetch AI model. Okay, let's refresh it again and try it out. So it's not getting called because we are updating this state called code response, right? And obviously as soon as you are calling this method, the state's not getting updated. So best way that you can do is to add an use effect and execute this use effect only when the code response and record information is available. Okay, and here obviously I'm going to put a condition: if it's not equal to empty string and record .uid is exist, then only call the update code to db. Okay, and let's test this out. So let's save it all together, and if I refresh the screen, we'll see whether it's saving or not. So right now it's analyzing and it's generating the code, so we'll wait. And now if you see, we did not get any error, but if I go to the result, refresh the screen, and here you will see the all the code. Cool, right? Perfect. But if you see over here, our code is type JSON, but we are just putting the string and it's kind of incomplete. Okay, it's not a complete code. So what you can do, let's go to the schema and I will just change this type to, let's say, any. I don't know whether any is there, or we can just change this to a text. Okay, from pg core, and then save it, and let's test this out. Obviously when you make the changes, make sure to update it. And another thing, another way that you can do it, you can save it as a JSON only. Okay, so you can keep this JSON as it is. Okay, so you don't need to make any change, but while updating the record over here, I will save it as a JSON. So over here we'll say response, I will say, and then code response. Okay, let's test this out because we'll see whether it's working or not. So I will just make sure to do it as a empty, and now we'll refresh the screen and we'll see. So basically the reason that is happening, okay, because right now as well, if you go over here, it's only saving one line. The reason is because we are executing this use effect as soon as code response is not equal to empty string, and here only is getting updated. So another way that you can do it, we can add is ready. If it's true, then only it will execute. And now we'll test this out again. So you just need to play around, try, you need to try whether it's working or not, and hopefully that will solve the issue. And now if you see, we are able to save the record. Okay, so I'm not sure whether we can remove this one. It's up to you whether you want to remove, but we save it as the JSON, so you can keep this. And now even you try to reload your application, it will not call any AI model because we already have a condition: if response.code is not null, means then it not calling any method. Okay, but over here now we can write a code else. We can set the response, set code response, and we'll set the value. So over here we'll say response code dot response, because inside the code, if you see, we again saving it as a response, right? So that's the response. I'm going to save it, and that's all we needed, I believe. And over here we'll set the loading as a false as well. Okay, and just make sure everything is good, and let's save this one and let's see whether we are getting a data or not. So I will refresh the screen, and if you see, we got the data. Perfect, right? Also you can just mark set is ready as a true, so that we can get the, here we mark it, so you will get the view as well. Okay, that how it looks and everything, and boom, see. Now in this case, if you refresh the screen, right, it will not call AI model because you already saved until unless you click on this regenerate code. But one last important thing that we need to take care of, we need to make sure this use effect will not execute, because everything we are updating, right, even though we already have the code. So we have to make sure over here we'll say constant is existing code comma set is existing code is equal to use state. Okay, so this state we are going to maintain, or there are another way that you can do it by just checking inside the use effect that record. So over here we say and record dot code is not equal to null. Okay, or sorry, is equal to null. If that condition matches, then only it will call the update method. Okay, and now if you see, we did not call any update method. Perfect. So that's all for this particular chapter. I hope you understand, because this is little complicated. Not really complicated, but you need to decide how you want to update the record and how you want to save it. Okay, so if you have any question, any doubt, you can ask me in the comment section, or you can ask on Discord channel. Now next thing that we want to integrate on the dashboard is under the design. We want to create a new screen where we are going to show all the wireframes which user generated, right? So if you see, we have all of this list which we want to show it. Now inside the design section which we want to integrate, so for that one I'm going to simply show the grid format. In that one, whatever the user created the wireframe, right, from the database, we are going to fetch it and simply we are going to display. So for each card we have the image, description which user entered, and the model name as well. Okay, so very straightforward, and we are going to use the existing API for that one. So go to the API. Inside the wireframe to code, we have this route.tsx file, and inside this one we are going to simply call constant. So over here right now, if you see, it's we are using to fetch a single record. But if you have passed the email, the user email, so over here I will say is equal to search params dot get, and here we'll say email only, right? So whenever we fetch with the email, then here we'll add a condition else. If email is there, then it will go into this particular else block and we'll copy everything as it is. Only thing is, instead over here we have this equal, right? We don't want to use here we'll add an email. So wireframe, okay, not email, but it's a created by, and then we are going to pass an email. Okay, because we are just comparing with the email, and in the result you need to pass all the record which we are getting. Let's save this one, and that's all we need to do on the API endpoint side. Now we need to create a new route for the design. So inside the app folder, inside the routes, inside that route we'll create a new folder called designs, and here we'll add page.tsx file. Let's add a default template. Here we'll say design and save it. And inside that we are going to simply call a method called constant. We'll say get all user designs, or we'll say wireframes. That makes sense, right? And the arrow function. Now obviously we need to make sure that user email, you need to get the user email, so that you can get it from the user is equal to use auth context. Inside here we'll simply say constant result is equal to await axios dot get, and here we'll say slash API slash our API route name is wireframe to code, so wireframe to code, and we're gonna pass email inside the query parameter, so that we can get it from the user dot email. Now let's make this as async. I will just bring this down, and then once we get the result, we'll say console.log result.data. Now call this method inside the use effect. Now we're gonna call this method in use effect only when the user information is available, okay, from the context. So here we'll say user and get all user wireframe. So let's save it and let's test this out. So if I go to this design, so it's still showing the okay, so maybe that's because our route is slash designs, okay, so it's with a S. So I will update our app sidebar only. Yeah, so over here we'll say designs, and if I go to the designs, so okay, so we use effect, so we need to convert this into a client side. So here we say use client, okay, and save it. And if you see, we have design page rendering. Now inside the console, if you see over here, maybe inside this array we got the list. Perfect, right? Now this save this in one state. So over here we'll define one state called constant wireframe list comma set wireframe list is equal to use state, and simply I'm going to add set wireframe list with the result dot data. Okay, now once we have this one, all the information, we just need to iterate it. So here I'm going to add h2 tag. Inside that we'll say wireframe and codes. I will add a class name, font bold, text 2xl, and save it. So let's see how it looks on the screen now. So perfect, and now we need to show all the list in the form of grid. So here I'm going to add a div. Inside the div we'll add a wireframe to wireframe list dot map. Inside that we'll say item. So we're gonna fetch each item and with the index. So obviously here wireframe to list, we need to give the type. So right now I'm giving just empty, okay, pass empty array over here, and inside this div, okay, let's do one thing. Let's create a component, and here we'll say design card dot tsx, add default template, and here as well I will use design card component. Okay, we'll say key as an index, and we need to pass each item, so we'll pass item as an item only. Okay, now inside design card, let's fetch it as an item. For now I'll put the type any, and over here inside the design card, first thing we want to show the image, so I will add image tag, the source, and the arrow function. Now you can provide the item type as a record, I believe. So here we'll put it as a record, something like this, I believe. So but over here we might get error, so here as well I will put it as a record. Okay, so we have an error saying the key number item record is not assignable of type. So here we'll keep it as any only. Okay, and over here we'll say item dot image URL. In alt tag I will just say image for now. We'll give width, let's say 300, and height, let's say 200. Okay, let's save it and let's see whether we are getting the data or not. And if you see, we caused bunch of list, right? Now obviously we need to format this. First thing, let's go to the page.tsx, and for this div let's change this to grid column 2 when the screen size is small. On large screen size we'll say grid column 3, and save it. Perfect. Next we'll add a gap to 7, and inside the design card let's add a class name Here we'll say width full, height to 200 pixel, and object we'll say content, and we'll say background white. Now for this div, we'll add a class name, we'll add a padding to let's say 3, okay. We'll add a border with a rounded corner, and after this one I'm going to add a div for description, okay. So we'll say item dot description, and inside the h2 tag we'll add a class name. We'll add a line clamp, okay, only 3 lines maximum we can display, and here we'll say text. We can keep text as it is, the default one, and this is how it looks. That's good, but the thing is we already have this padding. Let's give 5, and here we'll say object cover. Let's see how it looks. Perfect now, okay. For this div we'll add a class name, margin top to 2, and after this I want to add a div, and inside that we want to fetch the AI model name. So here we'll say constant, we'll get the model object is equal to constant dot AI model list dot find item. We'll say item dot name which equal to item dot model, okay. And from this model object, first I'm going to show an image. So we'll say model object dot icon and the arrow function. Here we'll say alt model object dot model name. Inside this we'll add a width, let's say 30, and height to 30. So it's saying model, okay. Let's add a condition if empty, and only when the model object is there then only execute this line, something like this, and save it. Over here if model is not exist, then we need to add a condition if item and add. So item dot model we need to add. That's weird, is not equal to null, I would believe, because we have the type error over here. Oh, so this need to be in record actually, okay, because okay, so we have some spelling issue, because here as well we used item only, okay. So here we'll use x dot name with the item dot model. I think now we are good, and here we'll say if item then only, okay, because here we already also gave the item, so that's the confusion. Now I think we are good. Let's save it, and if I go over here you will see the icon for each of them, right. Here we have the meta as well, and then we are going to show the model name. So here we'll say model object dot name, and we'll bring this in one line. So flex item to be in the center, gap of 2, and also we are going to add a padding to 2, background gray to 50, and rounded full. Perfect. And here we can add a max width, let's say large, make it small, I'm not sure, say 100 pixel, because we don't want this width to be full, okay. So that's the reason. I think this is fine. And last thing, make sure to give margin top. So for this one we'll give margin top to 2, And for this image, we'll add a rounded corner, so rounded large. Perfect. Okay. And the last, we want to add a button as well. Okay. So we can add it. We can wrap this in a div, something like this. So you don't need to provide this width, and on the right hand side we'll add a button. Okay. So here we'll say button, we'll say view code. We'll add a class name, and in the flex we'll say justify between, save it, and let's see how it looks. Okay, let's bring in one line. So I don't believe, so over here I will add class name to flex, justify between, and item to be in the center to this parent div, something like this, right? I think we need to add item to be in the center. And okay, so it's already an item to be in the center. That's good. For this button here we'll say code icon as well. So something like this, see. Okay. Let's give margin top to this particular one. So let's remove from this div and we'll keep inside this. Also for this description I will make text gray to, let's say, 400 and text little smaller. Okay, so something like this, so it looks much better now. Okay, and that's all we needed. Next thing, on the click of this view code, we want to navigate to the view code screen. Okay, so basically here we'll add on click method and we'll need to route it. So you can add a link tag, that will be great option. Okay, so instead of adding this, you can just wrap this in a link tag. From the next link, here we add a hrefs, and inside that you will say view dash code and slash, and here we need to add the uid, which you can get it from the item.uid, and save it. Now if I open any of the code, let's say you want to open this one, and boom, if you see, it jump it, right? Now for this one the code is not there. Okay, so you can ignore it, but if you see for this one the code is already there, and boom, it's just get it from the database. So that's how you need to implement this wireframe to code section. It's quite straightforward, right? There is no much effort to this one. I'll give margin top to 10, so some space between these two sections. Now you can anytime go to the tubegurji.com, and if you want to implement the payment option, SaaS option, you can go to my any of the SaaS application, okay, like this one, and here you will find how to integrate the payment functionality. There are a lot of different projects which you can learn, which contain a lot of AI projects, and there are more coming to this one. Also, if you want to get access to the exclusive courses and the source code, you can join the TubeGurji Pro membership. It's just under $9, and then you will get access to every and all the courses for free. Now let's update this credit section. Now in order to update the credit section, if you remember, we already have the credits column under the user section, right? So currently it's 0 because we did not update anything. Right now I'm making default one as a 5, for example. And whenever user generate any new wireframe, we need to make sure it will deduct it from our credit option. Okay, so let's go back and let's do it now. So what we can do, let's go back to our application, and when user click on convert to code, in that case we will first check if user already have credit or not. Okay, if credit is more than 0, then we will allow, otherwise not. So for that one, we'll go to this wireframe to code where we have this post API call, right, and where we are inserting record to our database. In this section we are going to check if user already have the credits or not. So simply we'll add a constant, we'll say credit result is equal to await db dot select from, and then we'll say wireframe to code. Okay, and obviously we need to add the condition where, oh, this is not a wireframe to code, we need to fetch it from the users table. So here we have user table, and here inside the where we'll add equal sign, and then we'll say user table dot email is matches with the user email. Okay, so this user email we are using, and once we have the result, so here we say if credit result of 0 dot credits, if this credits is greater than 0, just greater than 0, then only we will allow user to add it, something like this. Okay, so here we have an error, it's saying it might be a null. Okay, so we need to add a condition and something like this, right? Or you can just return the response, okay, the user don't have credit, something like that. It's up to you how you want to handle. Else we'll simply return next response dot json, and inside this we'll add a error saying not enough credits. Okay, and that's all, and save it. Now inside the dashboard and under the, let's go to the dashboard where we have page.tsx file inside the image upload, where we are calling this wireframe to code API, right? Over here we're gonna check first if result dot data dot, let me make sure to change this to small e, and here we'll say error. Okay, if there is any error, means we got any issue, then we can just console it for now that not enough credits. Right now obviously we need to show user that you don't have credits, you can either add it or whatever, right? So for that one, either you have two options to show that kind of notification. One is the showing alert dialog. So if you see, we have this alert dialog. Okay, if I click on this one, this is how it will look like. Okay, or you can just simply some toast message. So if I go to the sonar and if I click on this one, this is toast message will look like. So let's simply use it, this toast message. First you need to import this command, and once it's installed, you need to add the toaster component inside your layout.tsx file. So inside the root layout, just simply add it here. Make sure to import this toaster from this component sonar, and whenever you want you can simply use it. So for example, if you want to use here, you can say not enough credits. Okay, and then save it. That's all. Now in order to test it, let's make this 0. Okay, and we'll verify whether it's working or not, and simply go to your application. I will refresh this, go to the workspace, and inside the select image we'll upload some image, login screen, and convert to code. Okay, so if you see, it's saying not enough credits, right? But it's still going to that particular screen. That's because we forgot to enter return statement, something like this. Okay, otherwise it will go to the next line and it will push it. So make sure that you will add this return statement. And now I will again test this out. And if you see, it's saying not enough credits. Perfect. Make sure to disable this, or make sure to set the loading as a false. So here we'll set the loading as a false as well. So that's how guys you need to add it. Now once you have the credit restriction, then once user have credit now and user want to, let me change this one, and when user want to create the wireframe to code, and after successful creation we need to update these credits. So let me close all of this tab, and now Now inside the wireframe to code, right, once we added the record to our database, after inserting record, right, here only we are going to update the user credit, okay, over here. So simply I'm going to write constant data is equal to await db dot update, and inside here we need to update the user table. So that user table dot set, and inside that we'll say credits, okay, and we need to update the credits. So obviously whatever the credits we have -1, so we already have this credit result, okay, so I will just use this condition and we'll say credit -1, okay, so that's how you can do it. And here we'll say where clause, and I will just copy this where clause from the above statement. Perfect, okay, and you don't need to write anything, just you need to update the credits, and that's all you need to do. Let's save it, and if you want we can test this out as well, this particular scenario. Now if you see user have 5 credits, and if I refresh the screen, select the image, now I will upload some image, okay, so let me update some image. So here we'll say blog website, okay, and we'll say convert to code. Now we did not get any notification saying you don't have credit, something like that, and we are able to successfully redirect it to this particular page. But if I go to this view, now our credit changed to 4 from the 5. That's cool, right? It means we are able to update our credits, and here we have a result, see, okay. Now once you expand this, obviously you will see the similar to this particular web page. Now if I go to the home screen, here we have option called credits, and on this particular option we are going to add or we are going to simply show the number of credits user left. So simply go back to our application, and inside the routes I am going to add a new routes, and we can call it as a credits. Now inside the credits I'm going to add page.tsx file, add a default template. Here I'm going to add credits, we'll rename this one and save it. Now inside this we'll add a h2 tag, we'll say credits. I will add a class name, font bold, text to Excel, and save it. Now if I click on these credits, let's see whether it's redirecting correctly or not. Perfect, okay, now credits page is rendering. Now here I will add a div, and simply I'm going to show the user credit. So I'm going to add h2 tag, here we'll say my credits, and under that we'll say whatever the credit that we are going to fetch, let's say 4 credits left, okay. Now this h2 tag will say font bold, text Excel, and for this one class text large and text gray color little bit. Now for this div we'll add a class name, padding to 5, background slate 50, and rounded Excel. We'll also add a little bit border and save it, something like this, see. And on the right hand side I want to add a button, so I will wrap this in a div first, so that we can add a button saying buy more credits, okay. Now we want that button on the right hand side, so simply for this div will make flex, justify between, and then item to be in the center, okay. Perfect. I'm not going to add a lot of things in this one because we are not going to implement the payment integration, okay, that I already covered in many of my courses, so you can just go ahead and check that one. Maybe in my next video which is coming, which is big and which is quite interesting, in that video I'm going to use that one, so you can take a reference of that one too. Now once you add this one, we need to get the user information with the all the credits. So here we'll say constant get user info, or we'll say you get user credits and the arrow function. Okay, now we already have the API called users endpoint, and inside that we're gonna add the new endpoint called constant export async function and get request. Okay, so here we'll say request and next request. Now inside that, similar to the get request, I will just copy it for now. So if I go to this get request, let's copy everything like this and we'll paste it here. We don't need UID, we just need email. So we now have that email, and here we'll say constant result is equal to await db dot select from, and obviously we need to get the table name, which is user table, and the where condition. Inside the where we will compare, make sure to import the equal with the user table dot email with our email. Okay, and we have an error, so maybe we did not import. I think it's there. It's because it's saying if email is not there, then might be an error. Okay, so either you can say if email is there, then only execute this line of code. Okay, and after that you need to return the response. So here we'll say return next response dot json and then result of 0, because we just need to get the first element. And let's save this one. Now inside our get user credits, here we say constant result is equal to await axios dot get. Here we need to add API slash users, it's just user question mark email is equal to, and then we need to pass user email. That user email we can get it from the hook called use auth context, and here I will attach it. So we'll say user dot email. Okay, and let's make this as async. Now over here we'll say console dot log result dot data. We'll see whether we are getting or not first. Okay, so now we need to call this method inside the use effect only when the user information is available. Perfect. Let's save it and let's test this out. So if I go to the inspect panel, okay, so we use the use effect inside this credit page. So we need to convert this particular component on the client side. So just write it use client at the top and we'll refresh it. And inside the console, you will see the name and the user credits. Perfect. Now here we will create a state called user data, comma set user data is equal to use state, and here we'll set the user data with result dot data. Perfect. Now we have the credit information. That credit information we are going to add here. So we'll say user data dot credits, as simple as that. Now here we need to wrap it. If user data is there, then only execute this. Okay, maybe user data question mark credits. Let's try this one. So if you hover on this one, it's saying does not exist on this type. So maybe we need to define a type or what. Let's define a type any. Yeah, that works. Okay, let's save this one, and I think that's all we needed. Now if I refresh this screen, and boom, if you see, it's saying 4 credits left. Okay, now if I go to this one, we'll upload one image. Okay, and I don't know which one to upload, there are a lot of them. Simply upload this. Here we'll select Gemini API, and now if you want to add the image something like this, okay, not similar, but you can just search let's say 3D illustration, okay, and I will just go to this any image which you want to use it, and copy this image address, go back to your project, and here you can say use image placeholder as this one, okay, and you can mention login screen. Now simply click convert to code, and now we'll wait whether it's working or not. Okay, so right now if you see it's updated, our credits will also updated to 3, and now the code is generating, so we'll wait, and boom, if you see it's ready. And now I can expand until this point only, but if you see whatever the image we added, it's displaying on this side, and then our login screen at the right side. How cool and how beautiful it's looking, right? So it's similar to what the wireframe or the screenshot which we provided.